forward to the cloud.
There we go.
Okay, here we are. Welcome, everybody. And Joan, take it away.
Okay, well, this speech is from our beloved Sharon Waller. Oh, dear, sorry. Listen, our publisher and editor and fearless leader of Storyteller Poetry Review. And I'm reading the speech and her poem. If we have time for the second one, I'll read the second one, but because she doesn't have the electronic capacity to be heard clearly. So here's from Sharon. I dreamed of starting my own poetry journal when I first started writing poetry in 2005. Over the years, I researched it and realized I would be buying myself a job and taking away too much time from my own writing and publishing. 9 days before my 81st birthday, on March 18th, 2023, after completing my 12th poetry book, I figured I had written all my stories. And now it's time to fulfill my dream to publish a poetry review. I decided I wanted a journal devoted to narrative poets and poems I enjoyed reading. So I started inviting poets I knew one at a time, thinking they may reject me and I may end up publishing my own poems. I sent out invitations and they all accepted, and I was deluged with posts. In 2023, I published poetry and book reviews of 24 poets once a week. Since I now have a total of more than 55 poets, I decided to publish 2 posts a week to include all poets beginning in January 2024. The journal has surpassed my expectations and has turned into a very caring, supportive poetry community who support each other on email, Facebook, and Zoom readings recorded on YouTube. I am grateful and feel like a young newspaper reporter and editor again. Not only have I been working on Storyteller posts daily, but I write 1 to 6 poems a day and have 80 poems completed for my 13th book. I owe it all to you, storytellers. Without your stellar story poems and support, there would be no journal, community, and Zoom. I will continue as long as my health permits. So far, I have posts scheduled up to December 31, 2024. It is especially important to me that Marianne Silk and her husband, Ethan Goffman, are hosting Storyteller Poetry Review's first birthday bash, because without Marianne, there would be no journal and community. She helped me set it up and posted several issues for me before my husband was able to figure out how to do it. We still have glitches, but if you can read the poems, I'm happy to keep posting them. Ethan and Marianne have been 2 of my strongest supporters, so I will turn it over to them.
Okay.
Now, I have the choice of reading Ben's Dog, which you all just read, and then Sharon sent me another one as the possible reading, and I think I'm going to read it instead because it happens to be one of my very favorite of all her poems. So, and that's hard to have a favorite, that's why I said one of. I have many favorites of Sharon's poems, but this one is just particularly, I don't know, it just really hits me. It's The Cowboy and the Lady. My father blows into town with the Montana wind, hops off the freight train hauling Idaho spuds, swigs whiskey, tosses the empty bottle, follows the railroad tracks to Will's Cafe, where he sees my mother in a white waitress uniform, bouffant red hair, hanging a help wanted sign. She smells his breath when he removes his cowboy hat and introduces himself as her new chef. She warns him, she warns my grandfather not to hire him. He's trouble. As his cook walks out just as the customers walk in, my grandfather hands my father the chef's whites and ushers him to the kitchen and soon the cafe is filled with the aroma of sizzling bacon, burgers, and onion ring. I imagine how my mother melts like the butter in the pan and the ice cream in the cones when my father's hand brushes hers as he slides the hot plates towards her when he opens the door, hands her the menu. She gets swept up in his laughter and his eyes as dark and deep as the muddy river as she falls in love, not even noticing the jagged rocks, rapids, and undertow her under. It's one of the best love poems I've ever read. Back to you, hostess.
Okay. Thank you very much, Joan. Yeah, that was I love that poem. I love the story it tells, and I love the ending, the blend of story and image. Okay, thank you very much, Joan. And now going in order. I think Abha, would you like to read next?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, and
Okay.
everybody else can, and I'm going to do likewise. Everybody else, can you mute so that we can hear Abha read her poem?
Thank you. So, good evening, everyone. And March is always a beautiful month because the flowers begin to come, reptiles are out of their holes. And now we have Storyteller Poetry Review's birthday, followed by, of course, our very dear Sharon's birthday. And it's often that I'm here in California around this time, and I always look forward to calling Sharon because it's very difficult to do that from India. And it's one such memory that I'm going to read about. It was first published in Silver Birch Press, and then very fondly, Sharon published it along with my covering, featuring me in Storyteller Poetry Review. So here it is. As I call my poet friend Sharon in Arizona. Springing army of hands grip from sides of the lazy boy pouch, contrasting in color to my hair, now a pure white. Get the hairbrush, quick, commands the elder by 3 years, as the little one shoots back and forth with combs, headbands, and a box full of hair coils. No, not black. Get the others. Which color do you like, Vida? The sisters chatter. Is it Sharon? Sharon in Arizona? I try to hear, still in captivity of tiny fingers. Yes, I'm calling from SF. My granddaughters continue to part my hair into as many strands as the colors of ties. Alcott and Mary still at my feet, purring their tails up, joining in celebration, sensing ultimate victory as I surrender. Sorry, I just scrolled too much up. So, as I surrender to pulling, plaiting, and simply not. Why don't you comb mine? I hear my husband say in distance. After you color them white, the answer is clear, a blessing that I have carried for the last 30 years. Oh, Sharon, are you still there? Can you hear my granddaughters? 2 faces and 4 eyes swoop over my mobile, swift as an eagle on its prey, contemplating flight with growing dusk and fading light. I'm going back to India in 2 days. I struggle to complete. Is Sharon your friend? The eldest asked. Yes, would you like to talk to her? There is silence. It is okay to be shy, I tell them, as I say goodbye to Sharon. My granddaughters continue to install a bun out of my scant hair with the dedication of a monk. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
And Sharon, I look forward to calling you this month end as well.
great. Yeah, and that's such a fun poem. I always enjoy listening to it.
Yes,
Great.
thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Now Kavita, would you like to read? Thank you.
Sure. Greetings from Calgary, Canada, where it's 15 degrees centigrade from the usual minus 35 and below, because we have very long winters here. Just a little preamble before I begin. I belong to the Ben Israel Indian Jewish community, born and raised in Bombay. And we have two languages that we speak. One is English and side by side Marathi. So this poem is called Saying Twilight in Two Languages. The darkness always knows it is winter. It possesses intuition and wisdom. It enters my home earlier and earlier, silently, shortening the days, balancing on the edge of night. I miss my mother, though not just in winter. She turns on the lights at the first hint of twilight. She called it Teeny Sanza. This tea is soft, not hard, as in English. It's a Marathi word, our first language along with English. Try saying it, Teeny Sanza. Put your tongue against your front teeth. It will automatically soften the tea. Twilight is the soft light, the separation of day from night. Spoken with a hard T, Teeny Sanza is the soft tea. It also means twilight. The light is the same though, just uses a different language to call it by its name. I'm trying to teach my daughter to say Teeny Sanza. Marathi is not her first language. She can say twilight comfortably with the hard T. She obliges me by practicing. Either way, still, it will be twilight when it's time for the light to change. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was a lovely poem, Kavita. And thank you for the language lesson.
Thank you. Welcome.
Okay. Next is Rosemary.
You mean me?
Yes, yes, Rose. I know you go by a bunch of names.
I don't know what anybody calls me. I even have a few more that haven't appeared on the internet. But usually I sign off with Rose because
Rose.
my parents called me that when they were thinking I was good. When they thought I was bad, I was Rosemary.
Oh, okay.
So
So you're Rose.
I'm Rose.
Mhm.
I prefer it anyway. Okay, I'm reading one of the ones that appeared in the Storytellers. And I wanted to do an upbeat one, and this is Mining in Spain. Waves of aches, dwarfs hammering in my head, whistling while they work. Fever and nausea. Meningioma, senora. It's a healing fairy, my daughter smiles under tears. Long, dangling, stripy legs, wings too small to fly. The bumblebee's dilemma. My kids, my ex, my now, my boss, my friends, all rooting for me in the clinic's cafe, cracking jokes. While they dig for my hammering dwarfs on the operating table, I go on field trips. Then I flatline. That must have been the moment when I realized that death does not exist. It's just stepping over a line. Later, I absented myself completely when my head weighed at least a ton, the size of a Pilates ball. Just pull in your feelers and pretend you're not in. But you can't keep it up. Eventually, the stuff they give you wears off. Pain. It almost makes you scream, but you know it's not done. My love is smothering my face with moisturizer. He holds me tight, walks behind me. One step at a time, old girl. Don't worry. We'll get there. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rose. Gosh, thank you for bringing us with you through that experience. Okay, Jacqueline, would you like to read?
Yes, thank you. I'm going to read a poem that was in the Valentine's Day, the Love Poems series, a poem called A Less Loving Man. A Less Loving Man. You may not think I notice your quick yes when asked to mail a letter or pick up milk. How you make the bed every single morning. How you don't ridicule my worries, but Google questions, leaning over to share your screen so we can read together. A less loving man might be less patient when I go downstairs to check the stove one more time before bed. A less loving man might leave the toilet seat up or take the last chocolate. Small things I treasure because I remember how large they felt in a prior life with a less loving man. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jacqueline. That is a lovely tribute. Great. And I guess now it's Fran. I guess this is the DC area or ex-DC area contingent with Fran.
Okay. Many of my poems are inspired by my granddaughter, and this is one of them. This is called To Be a Child Again. 3-year-old points her toy flashlight like a wand, emitting green light. Skipping through the house, she turns stuffed animals green, kitchen cabinets green, bedroom walls green, her father's arm green. Light disappears, a click, and nothing happens. The battery is all used up, her mother tells her. No, she shrieks. I want my green light. And I wish horses could fly, her father says. She's quiet for a moment. Guess what? She announces. My Little Pony can fly. Dancing to a new source of joy. She's off on her next adventure. Toy flashlight forgotten.
Ah, thank you for that. Thank you for this cute poem, Fran, and an update on your granddaughter.
She's 5 now.
Oh my gosh. So she's all grown up with her skincare and all. Okay, thanks so much. And welcome, Neil.
Hi, thank you. Thank you. Sorry I'm late.
Oh, that's
Root
okay.
canal therapy. How
We're
about
just
that,
getting
eh?
started.
Oh,
And
good.
now it's time for Barbara. Barbara, would you like to read?
Sure. So I'm reading from Pennsylvania, and I'm going to read, like Jacqueline, one of the poems from the Valentine issue, and I'm reading from my new book, Slow Wreckage. So the poem also appears there. And it's set in Florence, Italy. Firenze. October, walking along the Arno, glazed in the saffron light of late afternoon. Earlier, we'd been to the Academia, seen David. Stop looking, I know you're looking, said the lecturer, the dimples on his knees, his magnificent culo. What would it be to spend just one night with that perfect man? Today, the imperfections of our aging bodies become more evident. My grinding knees, your screaming plantar fasciitis, which sent you back to our hotel in a cab while I toured the Uffizi alone. But oh, la primavera. I want to be Flora, clothed in flowers, forget-me-nots, daisies, buttercups, poppies, carnations, wild roses circling my waist. But instead, I'm an aging woman in sensible shoes, walking the river alone. The light turning, shifting shades of tea rose, lilac, peach, light that might be the lacquer of an old master. I'm trying not to stumble on the uneven pavement, trying not to bump into impossibly chic women coming out of Gucci and Prada carrying designer bags. The Ponte Vecchio looks tempting, but we have dinner reservations near our hotel where we will hobble 3 blocks on the cobblestones, then eat crostini, bistecca alla fiorentina, chianti, merengue con fragole. Age may have pointed us into a corner, tempered our desires, but when we finally lie down at night, laying down the burdens of tendons and knees, we'll pull up, not the high thread count sheets of this fine hotel, but the waters of the Arno at sunset, colors of Prosecco, Bellinis, and let them carry us off into the arms of night's soft chiaroscuro.
Thank you so much, Barbara, for bringing us to Florence. It was wonderful. Oh gosh, it really was one, you know, I really felt, you know, physically there. Great. Okay. Let's see. Joan, you've read your poem, right?
That's Sharon's.
Sharon. Would you like to read your own poem?
Sure.
Great.
First of all, I want to thank Barbara for a little trip to Italy there. I miss Italy. Okay. This is the one that was in the recent grouping of the dog poems. And mine is a kind of a dog and boy poem with a neighbor's dog being the dog part of the inspiration, since we didn't really have a dog of our own. So that's why if the dog seems a bit distant, it's because he really was. But my son was not. My son went to Virginia Tech, and it's in the mountains of Virginia. So this is from the time when we actually lived in Virginia. I'm in North Carolina now, and hoping to go back to Virginia. The season of the big dog wind. Our son Joe called it the big dog wind, the one that chases you down like a playful Irish setter as you walk along, jumping on you when you least expect it. Joe called it the big dog wind, that sudden blast of air from the sky, strong enough to push you down on the sidewalk, forcing the breath out of you. Breath of mountains. He is strong beyond what he realizes. Dog. Even his howl makes it hard to walk, hard even to stand up straight. Joe called it a big dog wind. Today, recalling that, when I felt such a wind bearing down on me, I cried out, "Heel, wind, heel!" Along the path, as I walked by, bare birch branches rattled in a laughing response to my exhortations of the wind. Wind himself seemed to take no heed of me, although I thought I heard a chuckle within the howl as he continued on his way. This was first in Verse Virtual, and then Sharon printed it just last week.
Thank you so much, Joan. That read so well. Gosh, you know, I could really feel the wind. Of course, I'm in the coldest room in the house, but I could really feel the wind pushing me down.
Well, Virginia Tech is known for that because of the way the buildings are, and it's up high in the mountains of Virginia, and the wind just, you know, it's like being in a city canyon, you know, between buildings. It was the only thing he didn't like about Virginia Tech. Otherwise, he loved the place.
Great. Okay, thanks so much, Joan. See whose turn is it next? Cynthia, would you like to read?
Sure. Yeah, so I really have enjoyed reading all the poets that Sharon publishes every week, and it's been a treat, this past year. And I always feel a special connection with Sharon because I live in the desert. She's living in the Arizona desert. I'm in the California desert. So, but we have some things in common there. And when Sharon published some poems by me last summer, they were all stories about women. And so I'm going to read the one about my grandmother. And this is called Sheets, as in sheets on the bed. Sheets. My mother asks if I want the old copper tub that her mother used to boil sheets. Wash day was Monday. The tub sat on the stove, covering 2 burners, its load bubbling. Nana would wrap the sheets on a stick, lift them to the washer, hang them on the line behind her rose garden. My mother says it was a different time. The sheets had to be white, and they were white. I imagine how fresh they smelled, how clean they felt, how their brightness made the neighbors blink. And I say yes, though I'm not sure where this piece of past and 3 smooth wooden wheels. Tub ends up beside the fireplace, ready to hold logs for winter. That's it.
Thank you very much, Cynthia. I'm sorry, but I didn't hear everything. It sounded like you were breaking up at one point, but it's a lovely poem. Thank you very much. Okay, Shoshana, are you ready?
Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah, okay. I was having a lot of technical difficulties, so I just want to thank Sharon again for bringing us all together and sharing her unique poems. I just enjoy reading everybody's poems all the time and just being part of this group. It's wonderful. So the one I'm going to read was in Storyteller, and I can't remember when. It might have been December or November sometime, but it's titled Illinois Imports from Kentucky. I fell for all of my best friend's brothers, their noses sloping like ski jumps at Tyrol. Was enthralled by her mother, who let us in the kitchen any time of the day. If we were hungry at midnight, we got Kraft mac and cheese. Could even make breakfast out of Coke and fudgesicles. Her cousins from Kentucky teased each other by saying, "You so ugly a train sees you, then takes a dirt road." Her aunt said, when drawing a wild deuce in gin rummy, "I'm happy as a tornado in a trailer park." All the aunts stringing flip-tops popped off cans of beer to make curtains that hung from door jambs to the floor, which took half of the summer. The next to oldest brother, whose eye focused off kilter because of one clumsy Christmas with a BB gun, shot pool with us in the basement after school, came sledding Lions Hill. When the radio played and the casinos sang about coffee with a kiss for a million years, it was him I pictured with me in married bathrobes. My boss squeezes quarters, her father claimed, till the eagles scream, digging in his pockets to show me one of them. Even now, decades later, the house up for sale, the parents long gone. If the hot wind's from the south and it hasn't rained all week, I still hear their vowels stretch like a month of Sundays. It's so dry, them trees yonder, are bribing the dogs.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Shoshana. It's wonderful to hear that poem again. I really enjoyed it when I read it the first time. I enjoy it so much listening to it tonight.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, wow. We are up to Ethan.
Hi, everyone. It's great to hear because it's really nice that you can read it and then later hear it because like there's so much that you just hear once and that's it and you miss a lot and the words don't necessarily have the weight. So I'm going to read something that was on my page that Sharon was so gracious about. Wait, I can find it. I thought I had it here. Maybe I won't read that. I will read. Okay, I'll read this instead, which is also, this is the last one on my page. But this is a bit more serious. I don't, might be too serious for this occasion, but anyway, here it is. It's called Native Americans Return to the Suburbs. Native Americans tread, creep, sprint, and leap through America's suburbs. Rabbit nibbles incessantly on vast salad bowls, breeds copiously on a million lawns, watches nervously for enemies, cat and car, feels a rush of adrenaline, strange joy as she dashes into a thicket. Rabbit suckles her babies, loves them deeply, forgets them quickly, remembers the centuries, lives in the now. Deer no longer dwells in shadows, hiding from her ancient friend, ancient nemesis, humans, for whom she has time and again, kindly provided nourishment. Nowadays, deer eyes two-legged beasts, common as the stars, as curiosities, if not quite friends. Clever fox hunts from the hidden places, preserves the gardens of her tidy human neighbors from rabbit's ravages. Fox remembers her long-lost cousin, Wolf, slaughtered and confined to reservations. Fox mourns Wolf, but cannot howl. Crow struts boldly down gray streets, steps nimbly between killer machines, dines greedily on roadkill, digests corpses of squirrel, chipmunk, rabbit, deer. Flying into nearby yards and meadows, Crow returns her cousins to the soil from which they sprang. Crow remembers Raven, clever thief who stole the sun to alleviate humanity's suffering. Native Americans live among us, if one knows where to look. Ghosts, spirits, remnants of 50 million dead. Mohawk, Cherokee, Sioux, Ojibwe, Pawnee, Dene, countless more, names forgotten.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ethan. I'm always happy to hear that poem. Always. Great. And oh, it's Lorraine. Would you like to read? Oh, are you still here? Oh, maybe not. I guess we'll skip up. Sean, would you like to read? Yeah, okay, Sean, it's your turn.
Okay, guys hear me? Yes? Well, first I have to thank Sharon because she found me in Verse Virtual when I first started trying to publish things, and she reached out to me to start this blog, and I'm just so grateful that she's taken so many of my pieces and put them out there in the world. So anyway, thank you, Sharon, very much. Let me see. I'm going to read you one of that first group. Let me get it up here. I live in Hawaii. It's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon here now. So, this was a poem I wrote in regards to a guy I was seeing who had a family on Oahu. I live on Big Island, and we went there for Christmas time, basically. And there's 3 words. I'm just gonna throw them out there because they're in the poem in case you guys don't know what they are. It's called Mokuea Island, and Mokuea is one of 2 remaining traditional fishing villages in Hawaii. That one is on Oahu, which is what the poem's about, but the other one is in Miloli'i, which is where I stay. Pupus, you guys may know, if you've ever been here on a visit, pupus is the Hawaiian word for appetizers. If you go to a bar, you have pupus. Or even if you're sitting around in your garage drinking beer, you have pupus. But the other word is vana, and that's the Hawaiian word for sea urchin. So those 3 words will be in there in case you guys didn't know what they are. Okay, so let me bring this up. Whoops. Sorry, I'm technically challenged here. Okay, Mokuea Island. It was that first year back on the Big Island, the one where I got laid off 2 weeks before Christmas. You said, "Come to Honolulu with me. You can meet Lei, celebrate Nina's birthday." I brought pear-scented soaps as a hostess gift. 3 pale eggs nested in a box, riffled up with tissue. She took the soap, but looked at you strangely. The house was both full and empty. Larry had been dead for a while, but his ghost still held sway. Boxes of rusted welding tools, unfinished projects, a pantry full of canned goods. I helped Nina plant sweet potato in an old bathtub in the yard. I helped you hook up the shower with random parts we found under the house. Tour boats floated by the dock as we worked. Sunburned tourists, drunk and loud, cameras out, gawking at the natives. We took the outboard to town for the party. Lily yelped from the shore and jumped in the water, trying to dog paddle to me. Pupus at the Korean bar, and a sheet cake with a picture of Nina in frosting, her wrinkles erased, orchids in her hair, Lei singing karaoke to "We Are Family." The Vana shell I found on New Year's Day, palest purple and perfect, waiting quietly to be plucked from the sand, now sits on my kitchen sill. But the night before had blazed, wild and crackling, fireworks and city light, the bonfire limning you with gold. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Sean, for drawing us to Hawaii, where you are now. It's cool. Great. Okay. Alan, would you like to read next?
Sure. I'm here. I hope you can hear me. Sean's in Hawaii. I'm at the opposite end of the country on Long Island. And thanks, Marianne, for hosting us, and thanks to Sharon for celebrating narrative poetry. And the other thing that she's done is she's given second and third lives to poems that we thought sometimes had run their course. And Sharon takes them and is so generous. She did an issue a little while back about poetry readings, and I decided to read this one since we're at a poetry reading. And this one was about a live poetry reading. It's called At the Poetry Reading because I'm so creative in coming up with titles. At the Poetry Reading. It's poetry, so the crowd is thin, more worn and older than last time. It's another hot day getting nearer the solstice, and a few take seats at the end of rows so they don't have far to go when they have to go. One lady, old, my age, seems bewildered, having only wandered into the library to get out of the sun. She turns to me quizzically. I whisper, poetry reading. She nods and decides to stay. Maybe it's the free coffee, though so far only a battered pot, a jar of instant, and an old cremora, its insides requiring a sharp instrument to urge some of the chemicals loose. And someone forgot the sugar, so one of the assembled rustles up some sweetened loaf from her purse. And there are donut holes pre-wrapped for safety, 4 to a pouch. The MC comes forward, describes our intention, our raison d'etre, how poetry is the life force, and while he's at it, mentions the summer heat and global warming and how we've all got to do our part, whatever that is. But a mic's only as good as the speaker's willingness to talk into it, and he's a poet type, unused to such conveniences. He's nice enough, but doesn't rhyme, and he should speak up. The lady takes her tote and stands to leave. Hey, I tell her, I'm next. I have some poems, as if this should have been encouragement to stay. She says, and not unkindly, I can't stay, but I'm sure your mother would be very proud.
Thanks so much, Alan. Thank you for bringing us to a live poetry reading. Great, I guess in New York. Yeah. So, Neil, would you like to read? Oh, is he here?
I was just writing a note to Alan, and I forgot to unmute myself. Hi, everyone. Such a lovely group. I love the kind of the intimacy of it, and how generous everyone is in sharing. And Sharon's been very generous to me. And I'm going to read something that is going to come later on in the year, and it's one of a group of my love poems that Sharon is posting. I suppose they're sort of intimate, and I hope they still mean something to you. And, you know, my wife and I are getting a bit older these days, which you undoubtedly can tell. And this one is called This Passing Day. It seems to me that the brittle bright morning when we first loved was a glistening shimmer of dewdrop. All the world's wealth was ours. Time seemed held in fragile crystal stop. Now it is late afternoon. The sky is clear and the sinking sun more intensely beautiful than it was long ago. Who can know if night will suddenly fall or day stretch on past midnight in muted, dimming, surreal twilight? No matter. Each transient moment is rich with joy, and passing time has been our strange friend, gifting us a plaited golden cord that twists and entwines, tying us to each other and to the present, the past, and the unknowable future. So come, take my hand. That fragile morning is long gone. Evening must fall, but the stars promise light. We have lived and loved together, shared in glory throughout the long passing day. Is this not enough? It must be enough. It is much more than enough. Thanks.
Thank you, Neil. I'm glad you were able to come. This is a wonderful poem, really wonderful, romantic poem. Beautiful. Okay. I've got to get my glasses on. Because I'm reading next. And this poem is a little different. It's in the Thanksgiving edition. And thought it would be fun. And, thank you to Sharon for not only bringing us together, but having a Thanksgiving edition where I could post this poem. In praise of molded salad. In wartime, canned olives and sweet pickles jitterbug through the cherry red moonlight. Girls played crazy eights while praying for boyfriends and brothers who fought overseas. Years later, thin cucumbers floated in the zero gravity of sweet lemon jello, cut with white vinegar and posed on frills of lettuce on a gilt-edged plate. Until the year when the Berlin Wall fell, Graham brought molded salad each Thanksgiving. The salad might have been served on a plate once or twice, but mainly I remember the faded Tupperware mold container for the lime green or sometimes lemon pond where carrot curls, chopped celery, and canned mandarins floated past pineapple shreds. My brother called this dish moldy salad, but we all loved its light sweetness, even when I lived on brown rice in Boston and Mom was on the Atkins diet again. Graham's molded salad was the home where fruits, vegetables, and sweet jello all lived in harmony, even when we did not. Thank you, Sharon, for giving this poem new life and for giving us this event. Okay, we have gone all the way around. It is now 7:48. Oh gosh. I don't think we could do another go round, but if people would like to chat for a little while, and I hope that people will have been taking a look at the chat. There have been some really nice comments for just about everybody. Yeah, and it's great to see. Okay. I suppose as host, I should have a question for people, but maybe if you could unmute yourself. And I think, does anybody have any questions for the poets about their poems?
I don't have a question, but I want to say thank you again to everyone, particularly to our Zoom hosts and to Sharon, who has brought us all together. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'd like to second that. Just thank you so much, Sharon. Your generosity is just overwhelming. The way you seek to bring all of us together and give us opportunities in so many different ways to both express new work and, as someone else mentioned, give life to work that has maybe seems gone by the wayside, but it's still there and it's still meaningful. And Marianne and Ethan, I want to thank you for loaning us this day at your lovely house and your lovely internet.
My employer's lovely internet.
In your cold room.
In your cold room, yes, yes.
Your employer shares.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm going to stop recording because